Episode 4 of Stranger Things Season 5 arrives like a sucker punch, and I am still catching my breath. From the opening seconds, it feels like everything that has been simmering for years finally boils over, as if the show has been quietly stacking cards since Season 1, and now the table topples in spectacular fashion. This episode, which many are already calling one of the show's finest, is all about payoff. It gives long, simmering mysteries answers, it elevates dread into visceral terror, and it lets characters we have followed for nearly a decade have moments that feel deserved and earned. What makes it land so hard is that it blends spectacle with intimacy, horror with real heart, and violence with a sense of mourning. It does not simply show us monsters, it makes us feel how those monsters affect human lives. The pacing of the episode is a masterclass in controlled escalation. It wastes no time. There is an immediate thrust into action with the Demogorgon attack on the barn, where Derek and his family are being held. And that early sequence already flips a switch on how we are meant to watch from then on. Will's moment of insight, where he senses that the threat is moving southeast and that those people are on the target list, reframes him in a new light. For the first time in many seasons, Will is not peripheral or only emotionally reactive. He is central to the fight. And this scene suggests there is something frightening and new inside him. The Demogorgon pauses when Joyce is present and behaves as if Will has a hand on the leash, which is a chilling image and an advance in the mythology. From here, the episode refuses to let the audience rest. One of the smartest things the writers do in this hour is keep the tension varied. There are moments that threaten to break your heart, next to moments that allow for a laugh. And that tonal elasticity makes the horror feel more potent, because it sits beside ordinary life. Derek's scenes manage to be unsettling, but also allow for comic relief, and that looseness actually makes the darker beats land more effectively. Contrast that with the car ride where Steve, Dustin, Nancy, and Jonathan debate going into the Upside Down. That scene is taut and uncertain. It feels like a life decision disguised as small talk, and it shows how the show can create stakes out of a single conversation. Meanwhile, Hopper and Eleven are already inside the Upside Down, trying to figure out how to take down who they believe is Vecna, and their scenes are quiet and tense in a way that builds dread rather than resolving it. Max's storyline in this episode is particularly potent because it functions as both a reveal and a setup. The brief glimpses into 1959 and the origin of Henry Creel's powers tease a backstory that finally gives texture to the way this world was warped in the first place. Max's entrapment inside Vecna's memories becomes a bridge between the personal and the cosmic, and the episode plants seeds that feel like deliberate markers for what is coming in the next volumes. Her nightmare sequences are constructed like a maze, and the show uses imagery that is both childlike and monstrously adult, creating a dreamscape that is genuinely unsettling. The way she walks through the woods and the man in the calm demeanor slowly morphs into the thing she fears most is a masterful sequence of mounting dread, and it proves the show has not given up on crafting proper nightmare cinema. Then there is the reveal about number 8, which for a long time seemed like a throwaway character to some fans, suddenly emerging as a pivotal presence. The emotional impact when Eleven sees her and whispers, "Sister," is a beat that cuts through. It is the kind of small, human moment that makes all the cosmic terror meaningful. Fans had been primed for a different reveal, and the writers bait and switch you in the best possible way, aligning expectation with emotional honesty. That we get to meet a character who has been mocked as pointless in internet chatter and then watch her assume importance in the mythos is satisfying in the purest sense of storytelling. It is a rare twist that feels both surprising and inevitable, because the show has seeded clues without tipping its hand. The scenes that introduce Vecna in this episode are pure cinema, and they are brutal in a way that lingers. When he steps through a gateway and starts to annihilate everything in his path, it is not just gore for shock's sake. It is a demonstration of power that is both graceful and grotesque. The moment where his hand pushes through a person's face is ugly in a way that feels earned by the story's tone. The character has been built up across seasons, and the moment of reveal needed to make us understand his lethality, not just in terms of body count, but in the sense of danger he represents to the world the kids occupy. That he dispatches people with terrifying ease is a reminder that this is no seasonal villain, but a threat that has eaten through lives in a methodical and personal way. Will's arc in this episode is the emotional high bar. For many seasons, he has been the kid who survived and then tried desperately to make sense of his identity and sensation. To see him move from a place of solitude to the center of the action is incredibly satisfying. The show lets his powers unfold in a way that is both cathartic and painful. Vecna's taunts, the accusation that Will somehow failed those who were taken because he broke when he was younger, leave an emotional bruise. And the finale of the hour, where Will connects to the hive mind and wipes out Demogorgons across Hawkins, is staged with a focus on intimacy. Close-ups on faces as they look to Will for salvation, the camera lingering on the small human reactions, make his achievement feel like the culmination of 4.5 seasons. When he wipes his nose, a small domestic gesture after such a cosmic action, and the screen cuts to black, it is both a beat of relief and a tease of more to come. It is the sort of punctuation that makes a season feel like it has both arrived and is still on a journey. The horror in this hour is not merely about zombies and teeth. There is a real texture to the otherworldly elements. The Demogorgons tearing through environments with a three-dimensional ferocity. The way the upside down bleeds into the right side up with a sense of spatial horror. And the nightmare logic that governs Max's entrapment all come together to create sequences that are truly nightmarish. There is at least one single-take shot during the final battle that ranks among the show's most impressive visual achievements. The camera moves with the characters as if it were part of the same frantic effort to survive. And that real-time feeling intensifies the stakes because we are not given the luxury of cutting away. We are made to move through the chaos with them. On top of the technical achievements are performances that raise the material to another level. Noah Schnapp steps into a role that he has been priming for years and delivers in a way that feels adult beyond his years. When he carries the emotional weight of Will's revelations and then executes the focus required to enact those powers, it is hard not to be moved. Millie Bobby Brown brings a rawness to Eleven, particularly in that scene where she pleads for Hopper not to sacrifice himself. Her tears feel like a real, desperate attempt to hold a family together against impossible odds. The ensemble cast also shows up in force. Mike, Lucas, Robin, Joyce, Jonathan, Nancy, Dustin, and Steve all get their moments to react and to live in scenes that are specifically designed to show how ordinary people behave when extraordinary things happen. Small details, like the comedic relief woven into Derek's subplot, are not distractions but necessary. They allow the larger sadness to land. The episode is so successful because it plays the long game. This is not a show trying to conjure cheap scares or to stack twists to distract. It builds atmosphere through accumulated detail. The Duffer Brothers and their writers have seeded images and motifs across seasons that come to fruition here. And that sense of long-term planning pays off emotionally. Watching the children strategize to get numbers of Hawkins out of the military base is thrilling because the plan feels real and because the consequences of failure have weight. The moment when the plan goes wrong feels painful because the show has carefully made us care about what was at stake. There is also an interesting interplay between large set pieces and quiet character beats. A scene of mass slaughter on a grand scale is followed by a tender exchange, and that contrast makes both feel more truthful. The episode does not mistake spectacle for substance. Rather, the spectacle serves the characters. For example, the visuals of the upside-down laboratory are striking, but they are not just for show. They tell us about past cruelty and present corruption, and they underscore the human cost of whatever shady experiments and military hubris have been committed across the years. The show uses the environment as a character, and that choice elevates the whole hour. So if you have not rewatched it yet, go back. There are layers here that only reveal themselves on second and third viewings. If you have, you know exactly what I mean when I talk about the density of the plotting and the moral clarity of the character work. Either way, Episode 4 marks a moment in the series that feels like a hinge, a place where memory and present collide, and where a long arc finally begins to show its shape. It is an episode that earned the applause people are giving it, and it raises the bar for what the rest of the season can and should do.